So when I first made this channel, I was thinking that maybe I won't really go too deep into my own personal life story, because we all have our own problems, right? We all have shitty experiences. We all have things that we have to deal with in this life, in this world, and I don't really want to make it seem like my particular story or my particular problems are any worse or any more special than anybody else's, because we all have our shit to deal with. But I recently changed my mind. Part of the reason is because, I sometimes it's kind of hard to think of new ideas for these videos. But when I go off of things that I've experienced in my own life, it makes it a little bit easier to think of video topics and talk about things, because it's easy to remember, things that I've gone through and relate to those and try to explain that. So, and also I just want to be able to talk about that and vent some of the things that I've had to deal with, So obviously I'm not going to go through everything in my life because that would just take too long. And it's not going to be in perfect chronological order. Kind of going to jump around as stuff just kind of comes to my head spontaneously. I'm going to skip to the more important stuff. But basically, I'll skip through first to around the age of, say, maybe 12 or 13, I think it was. Around this time, I started having some mental health issues. I would say there's different ways to describe them, right? So I would start out by saying, depression, anxiety, more specifically OCD related problems, tendencies. But yeah, so basically those things will severely hinder you. They will cut off your ability to do certain things. They lower your energy. Depression is associated with very low energy, very low motivation. And there's a lot of suffering involved, a lot of anguish. Sorry, I've been drinking. I'm a few beers deep. Well, more like like 8 beers deep or whatever. I've lost count, but so yeah, I'll just start out basically with the OCD type symptoms. Severe intrusive thoughts when I was young, very young, again 12, maybe 13. Severe intrusive thoughts of me doing things, seeing things too intense for me to really describe here. I'm not going to explain all of it because it's very intense and hard to say, but basically just severe intrusive thoughts, violent images in my mind of me doing things and urges of me doing things that I don't really want to do, to a point where it was so painful and disturbing that it basically like ruined my entire childhood, teenage years, made it very difficult for me to focus on other things, really truly enjoy other things. And again, there are many different, ideas, theories, explanations for why this happens: genetics, personality, chemical imbalance, and so on. And then you have the more Gnostic or esoteric interpretations, archons, parasitic entities feeding off of you, us being in a luge farm. Certain people are targeted more heavily than others. Like I said in my other video, I think it's a combination of many different things rather than just one thing. But I will say in my particular case, I do think that there was some or that there are some archons, some parasitic entities, some parasitic attachments involved. A few reasons for that. One, I notice a very heavy feeling on my back throughout the day, in my spine, almost like there's a leech or something that's latched onto my spine, just sucking the energy out, like it's feeding these intrusive thoughts and these problems and so on. Also, when I go to sleep at night, similar thing, I feel this attachment on my back, and I will go into sleep paralysis sometimes, where like I wake up, but I can't move. I can't move. I can't roll over, and I feel this strong like sensation of something being stuck to my back or wrapped around my back and my neck area. And I will just feel this while I'm paralyzed in my bed. I will just feel this like a very strong, how do I even describe it? It's like a buzzing sensation. It's a very strong sense of fear and like a weird kind of vibration, like my back is vibrating, like there's energy being sucked out of my back. Like there's very intense loosh extraction happening during this paralysis. And this actually is quite common. I would say I have this kind of paralysis. You know, it can vary, but sometimes I have it multiple nights. Sometimes I have it maybe once every week or two. It's a fairly common thing for me. It's not some rare thing. But it doesn't just express itself in the form of intrusive thoughts during the day. It's a very, very complex, complicated kind of thing where it's like basically, if you're not someone who's familiar with how OCD works, basically there's this stereotype that OCD is basically just wanting things to be neat or clean, but that's not even, like, yeah, that can be a part of it for some people, but that isn't even close to like explaining what it actually is. Just because you like things to be neat or clean, that does not mean it's at the level of someone who is like really has these issues, right? And basically it can manifest in different ways for different people. So I can't speak for everybody, but from my experience, one of the main things that really highlights it is how it will switch themes. So it will present one problem. It will give you one problem, one obsession that you really have to think about. And you really are thinking about this thing that it wants you to think about. You're trying really hard to figure it out. And you spend a lot of time trying to figure it out and trying to resolve it. And by the time you feel like you've resolved it, it will switch to another theme, and now you feel like you have to figure out this new thing. So to give you a quick example, say you might worry that your house is going to catch on fire, some disaster is going to happen. So you check your stoves over and over again. You check anything that could catch on fire. You make sure that it's not going to catch on fire. You check everything over and over again, maybe multiple times. You keep checking it over and over until you feel like you've got some kind of certainty. And then once you've done it enough times where you feel like you've got some kind of certainty, it will latch on to something else. Well, now maybe you think you're gonna contaminate other people, so you wash your hands, you wash things off, you make sure everything is clean, and you do that again and again and again until you feel like you can't. It's not a threat anymore. And then again, it'll just jump to something else. I mean, it could be anything. the theme can be anything. What really matters is how you are engaging with it. It will latch on to anything that you care about and make you think that something's going to go wrong, and that you have to really make sure and double check that it's not going to go wrong, and you do all this stuff, right? Another thing in particular that I deal with is like just self-doubt in general. Like when it makes it hard to speak, it makes it hard to socialize, because I'll think, oh, I'm gonna say something that's like wrong, or I'm gonna make a mistake, and then I feel like I need to double check or triple check, make sure that everything I say is right, prepare everything in advance, and it it makes me like stutter. It makes me like have to really think hard about what I'm gonna say before I can say it, and it just makes it. It's like there's a stitches over my mouth. It's like my mouth is just stitched up, and I can't fucking talk sometimes. Or if I can talk, it comes out fucking scrambled, like it's not how it's supposed to be. Even though I can understand my thoughts in my own mind, I can understand everything perfectly in my own mind. When I try to speak it, there's like so much doubt, and there's so much like suppression that it just comes out fucking scrambled. This makes it very difficult to, socialize. Makes it very difficult to have relationships, stuff like that. I'm sure you can see how it would affect those things. It really gets in my way of, getting new opportunities, improving myself, forming new bonds, new relationships. Another thing is like driving. I have severe anxieties and obsessions around driving. I can't drive in certain areas or perform certain maneuvers without it being extremely uncomfortable, and I just have to wind up completely avoiding it. And again, that gets in my way of new opportunities, new relationships, new friendships, because when you meet somebody, maybe they want to go somewhere, they want you to drive somewhere, take them out to eat or whatever it is, it completely cuts that stuff off. And then again, the depression causes, very low energy. I just naturally have a very low energy state, very low motivation, and shit like that. So I could go on and on about this shit, because it's so, there's so much involved and it's so complex, but there's just not enough time to go through all of it in this one video, or else I won't be able to cover the other things. But basically, you get the idea, right? These are all severe issues that greatly impact my quality of life and my ability to enjoy anything or have any kind of life, build any kind of social interactions and stuff like that. And then you have to deal with friends, family, people who are close to you not understanding. They think you're just being lazy, or you're making some kind of excuse or whatever, that whole spiel. So yeah, it got to a point where the anxiety and the depression and the mind rape was so severe that I tried my best to, get help or whatever, which wound up leading to me going to see a psychiatrist and talking to family, friends about it, and what they thought the solution would be. Some of the people thought that medicine would be a good solution, so I went to a psychiatrist, and I tried to get on medicine that they recommended, and also some of the people in my family and their friends recommended. And if you're not aware of this yet, the medication that they prescribe for like anxiety, depression, and stuff like that, it can literally cause permanent damage in many different ways. It can cause akathisia, which can be permanent even after you stop taking it, which is basically this damage where you feel this inner sense of restlessness, where you feel like you have to constantly move around. You constantly feel irritated from the inside, and it makes you want to like move around. You can't sit still, basically. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is that the same medications that they use for anxiety and depression, they also use that medication to punish people who commit sex offenses. And so the drugs that they give you for anxiety and depression is actually like designed to make your genitals go numb. It wipes out your genital sensation so you can't feel your genitals or enjoy sexual stimulation anymore. And one of the most fucked up things about it is that you can still understand in your mind that you want those things. Like you can still desire it in your mind and understand what you're missing out on. But if you try to go and experience it, you can't feel it. Like you're numb down there, and it can be permanent. Like even after you stop taking it, it's permanent. So obviously that just makes you worse. It makes you even more depressed. It makes it even harder to find relationships and shit like that because you have to deal with that now on top of all the other problems that you had to deal with. But even though I have this issue, I could still experience, some of the affection in relationships. So I still try to pursue them in some ways. And as you know, if you're someone who is heavily targeted by this matrix and you have to deal with all of the weird behavior from people and all the synchronicities and all the gang stalking and stuff like that, the matrix will go out of its way to basically ruin any chance you get of experiencing something good, right? So all of the experiences that I've had have been pretty bad as far as that's concerned. I remember like whenever I would get in a situation where it was like, okay, I would talk to a girl and we would schedule a date or schedule a time to hang out or whatever, and it's like as soon as that time came up, there was something that got in the way. There was something that blocked it. There would be people who would come in and get in the way at that time, like people who weren't supposed to be there, and it was very inorganic. It was very like the synchronicity was like way too much to be. You know what I'm talking about? How the synchronicities, they happen way too much, and they happen in such a way that it's not a coincidence, right? And this would happen over and over again, like where I would try to connect. I would try to meet up with a girl or whatever, and it was supposed to just be me and them. But then these people would get in the way at the last minute. They would show up at the last minute to block me off. It could be people that they know who decided to come over at that time. Oftentimes it was other guys involved because, they want you to have to like compete so that you don't feel comfortable. You can't just like chill out, enjoy the experience. You feel like you have to compete with somebody else. Yeah, it's just shitty. I remember this one time, this girl that I knew from before, she had like moved to another state, but we were still talking. And I was gonna go meet up with her. And I went to like I drove for like 6 hours or whatever to go meet up with her. And then when I got there, basically they had done like this weird psychological trick or whatever, where like she had her friend with her, and she got her friend to pretend like it was her. Like they changed their names and they changed their. It was weird. They swapped their names, and when I thinking that like I wouldn't notice, right? It's hard to explain some of this stuff, but basically she was like pretending that she was somebody else, and then when I drove there or whatever, they were doing like these weird psychological games. And when I fell asleep at their house, they took my keys from me while I was asleep and my wallet. They stole all the money out of my wallet. They went in my car, they stole everything out of my car. And then when I found out about it the next morning, and I questioned them about it, and I was like, well, what the fuck? Why did you set me up or whatever? They like started screaming at me. They pulled out a fucking weapon on me, like a crowbar or some shit, threatening to like hit me with it. Crazy fucking shit, just bizarre, just bizarre shit. But despite all of that, I still managed to somewhat diffuse the situation and calm them down. And like I was still nice to them. Like I still wanted to figure out how it could work because I still cared about them, and I kind of loved them, That's just how I am. And it gets taken advantage of, But yeah, I helped them when they needed money and stuff like that. I was there. And later on they had hit me up again, basically. They were like, yeah, it's been a while, do you want to meet up or whatever? And they wanted me to drive a long way to meet up with them, and I didn't really want to do it because of what had happened the last time. I would rather them just come all the way over here to me, where I feel safe. I have everything that I need around here. I know what's going on around me. I know where I'm at, Because thinking back on it, it could have been a lot worse than what it was. Me driving somewhere far away from where I live, it could have been worse. Like, you get where I'm going with this. It could have been much worse. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that again. I would rather either you just come here where I have everything set up and I know that I'm safe and I'm good, or we just, don't do it. And I remember they made a post where they were basically saying, I could tell that the post was about me. And they were basically trying to give off this impression that I wasn't putting in enough effort because I didn't want to drive there and meet up with them. And they tried to make it seem like, oh, I'm just like, they're this positive person who puts in all the effort, and they're just so amazing. And so, that toxic positivity bullshit, they're just such a positive person. And people like me, we're just negative because we're suspicious, we're skeptical, we don't want to do this or do that. And it's like, bitch, I put in effort. I drove to see you when you asked me before. I've helped you out plenty of times, and you can't do shit. You don't do shit for me, Of course I'm gonna be suspicious after what happened. But yeah, there was always, you get the idea, there was always some kind of weird interference. The Matrix putting something in my way to prevent me from, experiencing what I wanted to experience. So all of the issues that I've mentioned on top of everything I've mentioned so far makes it very difficult, if not impossible, 100% impossible for me to really enjoy the positives of these things. And it just makes it difficult for me to like go out, go to work, do other stuff like that, because whenever I see like an attractive person, someone that I'm attracted to, all it really does is kind of remind me of what it is that I'm missing out on and what I can't experience. And in my case in particular, that's practically every time I leave the house, because of the gang stalking, the honey traps. They always make sure that there's, beautiful women and stuff around me. So it's very, very torturous. It's like literally being tortured. And then on top of that, what makes it worse is when you try to explain stuff that you're going through or why the world is fucked up to people. Nobody wants to listen. They just try to make it sound like it's your fault, that you need to be grateful and all that, and blah, blah, blah. Same shit I've already said in my other videos, you know the drill. And it gets to a point where it's like, at this point, like, I feel better just when I get home and I'm by myself and I'm away from all these fucking retards, these ass wipes. That's when I feel at peace. I don't like having this shit dangled in front of me, like being constantly reminded of what I can't experience, because to me that is important. It may not be important to you, and when other people look at me on the outside, they may not think that way about me, but the truth is I'm like a very empathetic, compassionate person on the inside, and I need that affection or whatever. And that's another thing I wanted to say. If you're a guy, you constantly have this idea reinforced into you that you need to be tough, that you need to hide your emotions. And like all your friends in high school and stuff like that, they would try to act hardcore, like they don't care. And if you showed affection, or if you showed that you cared, you were viewed as like a pussy. And it was viewed as like this cringe thing or whatever. And I've always think that that's kind of fucking fucked up. That you can't even like be a caring person. You can't show affection without it feeling cringe. And it still affects me even to this day. Like, I still struggle. I still don't really, even though I'm an affectionate person, I still struggle to like show it on the outside. A lot of people don't know that. I don't show it on the outside. I don't act that way because like it's hard to do it without feeling cringy, or embarrassed or whatever. It's stupid. It's very painful to a point where I don't even know how I'm still here. I don't know how I'm still doing this. And I've barely scratched the surface. I think I'm gonna have to do like a part 2, part 3, part 4, however many it takes to finish this, because and I'll still never get through all of it because there's just so many things to go through when it comes to this. There's so many misfortunes and things that I could go through that this would never end. And so I'm probably just gonna have to end it here because I'm drunk, several beers in. It's late. And I don't have time to finish it all in one video, so